Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us on Liquidity Legends, where we get the inside scoop on token-based projects found across the Hedera DeFi ecosystem and made available for lending and borrowing on Bonzo Finance. Today we're chatting with Onlylarping, co-founder of Karate Combat and the Karate token on Hedera. Karate Combat is the first decentralized professional sports league, and it's built on the Hedera network. Onlylarping, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Brady. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So to get started, could you give us a quick intro to yourself and Karate Combat and maybe Karate Combat's role and objectives in the ecosystem?
I'd love to. I am one of the co-founders of Karate Combat. I spend most of my time on the Web3 side of things. I've been in the crypto space for over a decade now. Historically, I was the largest investor in the league, but then a few years ago, we came up with this crazy idea, which we now call Up Only Gaming. So I've been running with that.
And could you give us a little description of what Up Only Gaming is relative to Karate Combat?
Yeah, for sure. Um, Karate Combat is the first, real live pro sports league that's governed and gamified by a token. We really went all the way with it. We contributed the entire league to an ownerless foundation that's governed by the token holders. But the reason we did all that craziness was really to build up on the gaming. The thesis behind up on the gaming, Karate Combat has this very large awareness. We've got like 6 million followers. We get hundreds of millions of views on the internet every month, growing really quickly. But converting that awareness to true super fandom, those people who will pay tons of money to support your sport, that's a really tricky conversion. And honestly, it normally just takes a lot of time and or a lot of money. And our thesis was that with our demographic, mostly young males, we built the sport itself for the next generation of fans. Our thesis was with our demo, there may be a way to shortcut that conversion by financializing things. If you talk to our demo, almost half of them will tell you that they don't enjoy watching sports unless they have a bet on it. Makes sense. They grew up playing video games, using social media. They expect this level of interactivity and access that you don't get from sitting on the couch for 4 hours. And so the thesis was, perhaps there's a way to get our fans researching our fighters ahead of time, learning their names, their backgrounds, the things that are really critical to get someone to care about a sporting event by financializing things. So the way it works, before each event, all of our token holders can vote on which fighters they think are going to win with their tokens. The more tokens you have, the more votes you have. And when you vote on winning fighters, you earn a little bit more karate token from a fixed karate prize pool on each event.
Amazing. And I totally agreed with you too on the gaming aspect or having like this gaming layer that exists in sports now, just being so critical for fan engagement. And you mentioned the karate token and sort of using that for like bets and governance. Could you describe what the karate asset does and its utility?
Sure. It's sort of threefold at the moment. Number one, as I mentioned, took this crazy step and sold the entire league to this ownerless foundation. When we structured the foundation, we set it up so that the token holders can really govern it. There is no equity in Karate Combat. There are directors at the foundation that agree to take direction from most of the things the Karate token holders are going to vote on. So number one, you have governance over a real live sports league. Number two, you have up on the gaming, this ability to, if you pay attention and you're active, you can earn additional tokens by predicting which fighters are going to win. And what that means is like the active participants very, very, very slowly dilute the inactive ones. And then lastly, what crypto calls token gated experiences, what we've been calling like member benefits. Because there's no owners of the sports league, all the perks that traditionally go to owners of sports properties should really go to the token holders. Instead of just giving them out to the largest token holders, we give them out based on where you are on the Up on the Gaming leaderboard. There's additional, I would expect there's additional utility coming. We're working on a bunch of things that'll be announced over the next few weeks, and the token holders themselves can propose additional utility in the governance form, et cetera.
Amazing. Thanks for that explanation. And given that the token is an asset that's on the Hedera network, and we've got this evolving DeFi ecosystem, what role do you see the karate asset potentially playing, or karate combat playing, for DeFi on Hedera?
Yeah, I mean, I expect it to be one of the more popular assets for borrowing and lending. It's, first of all, you got this unique kind of game, which is right now set up on Snapshot. I think it's largely telegraphed that's going to be moving towards staking. But so, like, once a month, you have the ability to earn additional karate tokens. So you could see people coming in and borrowing them ahead of time. Or to be honest, maybe you're going on a long sabbatical and you don't want to go and pick your fighters, you could lend those tokens out for additional yield so that you don't have to go and make your picks. We have a similar feature called delegation, but I think it'll be popular both ways. I could also, we're by the time this is announced, we're working on a bunch of different liquidity incentives for the karate token on Hedera, and I could see it kind of interplaying with LPs on certain decentralized exchanges, etc.
Very cool. Well, lots of exciting stuff coming up with regards to that, and I do like the concept of being able to borrow and lend karate. And like you said, like if you're going on a sabbatical or something, being able to just put it into like basically a savings account in a
Yeah.
sense through a lending protocol, and not miss out maybe on um,
You could also like sort
well,
of leverage up your picks in a way. This
yeah,
is, this sort of functionality makes them take some time, but you could, once you're also able to use karate as like collateral, you can kind of loop it. And I would not recommend anyone do this. It sounds like a really bad idea, but basically, borrow a bunch of karate so that you could make kind of leveraged picks on the fighters.
totally makes sense. Yeah, and with the no lose sort of betting system right now, that does seem, at least for a short amount of time, that seems potentially reasonable. You just have to think about like interest and the variable rate in many cases, but
Yeah.
definitely a cool and interesting use case. So covered, the idea of karate being supported by Bonzo Finance and some of these potential use cases, that we've seen across the industry being applied to that. Do you envision any other interaction with other DeFi protocols on Hedera, with regards to like the karate asset in particular?
I mean, I'd throw it back at you. What do you think? You
That's
spend more
fair.
time thinking about DeFi than I do. The karate up on the gaming is a DeFi idea. It came out of sort of kind of the DeFi boom. Um, was thinking about starting a bunch of different kind of gamified DeFi apps, and this idea kind of came out of that. But I just do not spend that much time anymore thinking about DeFi because I spend 100% of my time thinking about karate combat. So,
Totally
um,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've seen is when in an ecosystem, when a lending protocol comes online and you've had a foundation of like DEXs and liquid staking and a number of sort of primitives for DeFi, lending and borrowing ends up affecting the sort of top line metrics of these foundational DeFi primitives. Like on a DEX, it'll increase volume, like overall trading volume, and ideally TVL as well. So I guess in the context of like the karate asset and any other asset, really, I could see lending and borrowing potentially supporting liquidity initiatives for it, and then also just volume in general.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the time you jumping on and talking a bit about karate combat and the karate asset and just the future of DeFi in general. Is there anything that you want to talk about or share with the audience before we close out?
Yeah, I guess I would just say, we just wrapped a big event in Singapore, but we've got another one coming up in the States, October 11th at Permissionless in Salt Lake City. So if you're, anywhere near the west coast of the US and a Karate Combat fan, you should really come out to the event. I don't know when we're going to have another event in the US, to be honest. It could be half a year. We have a big travel schedule planned. So I would say definitely come out to that. Also, we're planning some pretty big announcements around the event. So stay tuned. We've got a big crypto influencer, not really influencer, but founder fight. We got Kane Warwick of Synthetics and now Infinex fighting David Hoffman, founder of Bankless. I think there'll be a lot of hype around that. Should be fun.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I remember that fight was originally canceled.
Yeah, Dave was supposed to fight Nick, but
Yeah,
he broke a rib. Yeah, if you're gonna fight in karate combat, you really shouldn't do any hard sparring like the couple weeks before, because apparently once you get to like 30s and up, like those ribs are gonna inevitably crack. Is what I've what I've seen. It's like so many of our Web3 fighters have kind of rolled in with some sort of rib injury.
making me feel old also.
Yeah,
Um, but good pro tip for anybody who's interested in
yeah.
doing IFC fights. And yeah, to echo what you're saying, I've been to a karate combat event before. You guys put on an amazing production. I highly recommend if you have the opportunity to go check it out. Definitely go and attend. Yeah, it's an amazing event. It's very cool.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Really appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll chat with you guys again real soon.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Bye.